Good afternoon. My name is Alan Lowe. I'm the chair of the Victoria Chinatown Museum Society, and I'm pleased to be your MC this afternoon. We acknowledge and thank the Lekwungen people, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations for allowing us to live, work, and play on their traditional territories. Aichka. We're also situated in the heart of the oldest Chinatown in Canada, a National Historic Site. This is an exciting day for Victoria's Chinatown, as you will hear from our speakers today. We're joined here this afternoon by Minister Melanie Mark, Minister of Tourism, Arts, Culture, and Sport, Minister George Chow, Minister of State for Trade, Mayor Lisa Helps, and Grace Wong, the chair of the CCMSBC, which is the Chinese Canadian Museum Society of BC. Also joining us this afternoon is my friend, Minister Rob Fleming, Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, Dan Muzyka, the interim CEO of the RBCM, as well as Dr. Sui Chung, also from the Royal BC Museum. Grace Wong, our tireless chair of the Chinese Canadian Museum Society of BC, is here to say a few words about this temporary exhibit. Grace?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm also very pleased to be speaking to you from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Lekwungen people, home to the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. On behalf of the Chinese Canadian Museum Society of British Columbia, welcome to our launch of this exhibition space with our two exciting temporary exhibitions. The Chinese Canadian Museum strives to honor Chinese Canadian history, contributions, and living heritage through all of our exhibitions and programming. We recognize the rich stories of the Chinese Canadians throughout BC, and especially in this case, Victoria. Victoria is Canada's oldest Chinatown. It is a national historic site, and there are more heritage Chinatown buildings in Victoria than in any other city in North America. So it is fitting that we locate these temporary exhibitions in Victoria Chinatown and in Fantan Alley. Fantan Alley has a storied history. It was a center of social life for many of Chinatown's male residents. That was the era of the Chinese Exclusion Act, when the men were separated from their families. Today we honor the heritage of this building in Fantan Alley and bring those stories to life through two special exhibits. First Steps, Chinese Canadian Journeys in Victoria is curated by Chinese Canadian Museum in cooperation with Victoria Chinese Museum Society. It showcases the important starting points for Chinese Canadians in Victoria through themes of intergenerational resilience and agency shared through stories of community support, entrepreneurship, and personal accomplishment. Also on display is Gold Mountain Dream, a traveling exhibition created by Royal BC Museum in collaboration with Canadian Museum of History, which examines the personal stories and sacrifices of Chinese migrants in the 1850s as they landed on British Columbia shores in search of gold. And Dr. Dan Muzyka, chair of RBCM, and Dr. Sui Chung, curator RBCM, is with us and are both with us, and we thank them for the collaboration and support of the exhibition. I would like to thank Alan Lowe, John Adams, and the Victoria Chinatown Museum Society for their tremendous support in bringing this exhibition, these exhibitions to fruition. They are the volunteers, and the volunteers they engage to help are so vital to our work. As well, I want to acknowledge our dedicated staff and the board of the Chinese Canadian Museum. We're delighted that provincial ministers, Melanie Mark, George Chow, Rob Fleming, and Victoria's Mayor Lisa Helps are with us, along with a number of other special guests, and of course the many guests who join us virtually. Thank you for taking the time, and I hope you will visit our exhibitions here in Victoria or Vancouver very soon. Let me also express our very deep gratitude to the province of British Columbia for their support of the Chinese Canadian Museum from the museum's very inception to last Friday's announcement of $27.5 million of funding to acquire the Wing Sang building as the permanent home of the Chinese Canadian Museum in Vancouver. and for their support of all our work through our programs and exhibitions such as this one. It's my personal pleasure to invite Minister Melanie Mark to give her remarks. Minister Mark is the Minister of Tourism, Arts, Culture and Sport, and that is our ministry. Minister Mark has been so supportive of the establishment of the Chinese Canadian Museum and played an instrumental role in helping us to be able to acquire our permanent site. We're very fortunate that Minister Mark and Minister George Chow, who started us on this journey many years ago, we're fortunate they're both such wonderful champions of the Chinese Canadian Museum. Minister Mark.
Good afternoon, everyone. Simgaget, Sigidamanak, Gibit Wiltsik. I'm honored to be here on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, members of the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. And Simgaget, Sigidamanak, Gibit Wiltsik, and Niska means honored guest, chiefs, matriarchs. So I want to acknowledge my colleagues that I'm joined by, Minister Rob Fleming, Minister George Chow, Mayor Phelps. Thank you, Alan, for your work as the mayor of this city and to play such a big leadership role in this exhibit. Dr. Dan Muzika, who we've been paddling together at the Royal BC Museum, for which I'm responsible for. Charlene Thornton-Joe, thank you for being such a champion and an advocate. John Adams, for your leadership. You know, there's a saying, you know, go alone, or, you know, the saying of go alone, you don't get far, paddle together. That's how you make change. That's how you make the distance. And, you know, it's been my honor to be the minister for the last 14 months. It has not been easy. I want to acknowledge everyone who are getting through this pandemic. Things are looking brighter. But what a historical time we are in. That is how I feel in my heart to be here in the Fantan building in the oldest Chinatown in Canada. It is a historical moment. And Grace, I just want to thank the board. There was a vision from the Chinese Canadian community to have a presence to tell the stories of the history, the shared history, the vision, the dreams, to come here to Canada for a sense of opportunity. And as a Niska woman, to also think about the journey that Indigenous people have been on with the Chinese community and how we've been paddling together. So that's why I feel an honor to be here in this moment at this time. I know a lot of people worked really, really hard to get here. And so just to pause for a moment for the volunteers, everyone who put in countless of hours, who had a dream, who had a vision, to have the first Chinese Canadian museum in Canada. And that happened last week in 2022, the year of the tiger. So I just want to congratulate everyone and just give a round of applause to all of the volunteers who hung in there. And to be with Premier John Horgan last week in the Wing Sing building, the oldest building in Chinatown, as the local MLA, I'm the MLA for Vancouver Mount Pleasant. I was there with my colleague George Chow, who's been fighting for this. It's just such a magical time. And I just want to thank everyone for getting us here. This is a call to action to every single person who is close to Victoria right now or on their way to Victoria for Family Day or anytime soon. This exhibit is outstanding. And it's important that we talk about and understand that journey that we've been on together, how food binds us. The first doctors, the first nurses, the struggles, the invitation to come here and be welcome or to think that you're welcome. And then government policies to keep us out. So there's a story to be told here. And we have to keep telling those stories. So I'm so proud of all of the work that Grace has been doing with the first temporary exhibit, the seat at the table, this exhibit here in Fantan Alley, the work that the Royal BC Museum's doing. I am so excited, if you can't tell in my voice, how passionate I am about this historic moment that we are in. And you know what? If we keep paddling together, we can go far. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Mark, for your remarks and for being a steadfast champion of not only the Royal British Columbia Museum, but also the Chinese Canadian Museum Society. We do look forward to continuing to paddle together with you as we continue this journey together. So thank you very much. As for our chair, Grace Wong, I met Grace Wong a few years ago when we first worked on the Chinese Canadian Museum Working Group, and for the last 2 years on the board of the Chinese Canadian Museum Society. And it is through the vision of the board that they share the rich narratives of Chinese Canadian history across British Columbia, and that they saw this location of Victoria as a great opportunity to extend that reach. So thank you to the Chinese Canadian Museum Society for seeing that Victoria should showcase some exhibits, so thank you very much. Minister George Chow, who spearheaded the Chinese Canadian Museum's working group and has continually worked with us to get us to where we are. He's very passionate about this as well, and I'd like to have him come up to say a few words. Minister George Chow.
Well, thank you, Alan. I'm very honored to be invited on the unceded territory of the Songhe, Lekwungen, and the Esquimalt speaking people here. I hail from the Coast Salish land, from Vancouver. And of course, Victoria is the oldest Chinatown in Canada, and I'm very honored to be here to celebrate the opening of this museum in Victoria, Chinatown. Thank you for the Chinese Canadian Museum Society of BC, as well as the Victoria Chinatown Museum Society for doing this, and I think this is great. And I see the title, it says Chinese Canadian Journeys. Now, my family also came here on a different journey, and we all came here on different journeys. For myself, Victoria is very significant to me because my grandfather came to Victoria in 1911. And I was very happy 2 nights ago that I found out he actually took the ship called Marlborough Maru in 1911, arriving here in Victoria, July 1911. I was keep looking for that record. I thought he came on the Canadian Pacific steamship, but he didn't. He came on the Japanese ship, so it was very good that I got that information. So that he didn't stay in Victoria. He went over to Mission and worked on the farms. And my father came to Victoria as well in 1955. And I came to Vancouver in 1965. But my first big event was also in Victoria at the Don Mi restaurant, where we celebrated my village society, Yushan Society. And that was great. And, you know, my society used to be on the government street, but now has moved. So I think we're here, as Minister Mark said, we're all here on this different journey. And I'm very happy to have taken part in this tremendous effort by our BCNDP government, who spearheaded this as an election promise. And we have done it, you know, within a relatively short time. And now all the work in going forward rests with the community as well, and rests with the Museum Society, the Victoria Museum Society. And I'm very happy that right here in Victoria, you also have the Royal BC Museum as the backup. And that would be the greatest thing. And I look forward to you guys working with the Victoria. Yeah, it's just a great event, and I'm very happy to be here. And Minister Fleming, this is your riding, I guess, and we look forward to your leadership as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Chow, for your words. And we will also continue to work with you to ensure that the story of the Chinese Canadian people are shared around the province. We also have Mayor Helps here. And Mayor Helps, through her busy schedule, has joined us today for this exciting announcement, and I would like her to come forward to say a few words too. Mayor Helps, please.
Thank you, former Mayor Lowe. It's a real honor to be here with all of you today. This is a very proud moment for Victoria, home of the oldest Chinatown in the country, in North America, home to a creative, thoughtful, entrepreneurial, and really amazing Chinese community. To see this, a significant thank you to the provincial government for making this real. It would not have happened without you. And it would also not have happened without the leadership of Alan Lowe, all of the volunteers who've worked so tirelessly. I have to just congratulate my colleague, Councillor Thornton-Joe, for her work. This has been a dream for the whole time that I've known her. And to see this dream come alive today is really important to all of us. There's a phrase that I've heard recently batted around by people when we're talking about reconciliation, when we're talking about racism, when we're talking about BC's history, and it's to look at the wholeness of the truth. And this museum helps us to see the wholeness of the truth of our city's history, the truth of our province's history, and to hear the lived experiences of our Chinese community members. So congratulations, thank you to the province, thank you to my colleague, Mayor Lowe, to Councillor Thornton-Joe, to all the volunteers who made this happen today. It's an extraordinary moment in our city's history, and I'm so pleased to be here with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, for your words, and we know that you will be here with us as we continue this journey. As the chair of the Victoria Chinatown Museum Society, we are very excited to cooperate with the Chinese Canadian Museum Society to open these exhibits. And as they say in real estate, location, location, location. Fantan Alley could not be a better location to house this exhibit. I'd just like to thank Paul Chan, who is the president of the Hoi San Association that owns this building, for reaching out to us and saying that they had this opportunity available for us to essentially house our temporary exhibit. We looked at it, we talked to the Chinese Canadian Museum Society and Chair Grace Wong, and they jumped at this opportunity, and I am very grateful for that. As the oldest Chinatown in Canada, there are many stories to share. The First Steps, the Chinese Canadian Journey in Victoria exhibit, is just a snapshot of the stories that we have in Victoria. We are hoping that this exhibit will encourage visitors to explore beyond these four walls of the exhibit and into our Chinatown, our living museum. History, culture, and contribution of Chinese Canadians. We want to tell a story, the story of how we lived and what our ancestors had to go through in order for us to have the rights and freedoms that we enjoy today. In July 2020, the Victoria Chinatown Museum Society today's opening of the two and celebration. I would like to thank the Chinese Canadian Museum Society of BC for opening this temporary exhibit honoring Chinese Canadians in Victoria with the support of the province of British Columbia and the Royal British Columbia Museum. The Victoria Chinatown Museum Society will continue to cooperate with you and work with you to ensure that this exhibit is successful. Before I close, I just wanted to acknowledge that late last week, we lost one of the pillars of our Chinese-Canadian community, Mr. Ron Lukwai. His family were pioneers in Victoria, and Ron was the former Chancellor of the University of Victoria, a partner at Crease Harmon, a member of the Order of Canada, a community fundraiser, and a huge supporter of the Chinese community. If he were here today, he would be here supporting us, and we will miss him. I would also like to recognize and thank my fellow board member, John Adams, for his knowledge and curatorial skills to lead the curatorial committee in creating the First Steps exhibit, Chinese-Canadian Journeys in Victoria. His knowledge and his hard work, even until the late hours last night. Thank you very much, John, for making this happen for us. At this time, I would like to ask Minister Mark, Minister Chow, Minister Fleming, Grace, to join us in the official ribbon-cutting ceremony to open the temporary exhibit honoring Chinese Canadians in Victoria's historic Fantan Alley. Thank you very much.
Where are you going? At the gate? Oh, wrong place. Are you laughing me at a row? Oh my God.
Once you guys got it, get it.
Are we all fighting to be on the left? I'm kidding.
I'll go towards the center.
We gotta balance it out because you're going. I'll go beside Rob. The women at the end, we're the end of the canoe. We're the
Okay, I'll come over this side.
I'm gonna go to the
Minister, you should be the next one.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Okay. Wait, we can only do this once. So you measure twice, cut once. Okay, who we're looking at? 1, 2, 3.
Go. I got the longest piece.
It's not a competition. Everything's a competition. Okay, I'm gonna keep this. Or we should leave some for the museum. Yeah. All right. That's how we're going. Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you.